So how did you feel when you first found out you were pregnant?
I expected it. It wasn't a surprise.
Okay.
Yes, because we did the during my clinic day, I go to the hospital. When it's my turn, the doctor just checks my tummy, sometimes measures it, check to feel the heartbeat of the baby and everything, and ask you any problem, any questions, any complaint. And most times, since I had a very low risk pregnancy, I didn't have any issues and I'm fine. But diet too very important, so that I'm not big and the baby is not big. So I try to control what I eat. I was taking green tea so that the baby doesn't get fat.
So what were your expectations about childbirth compared to the reality of labor?
During the surgery, I felt like what was going on.
Okay.
I felt that I was awake. They numb you from a certain part of the body down, and when my baby was coming out, I felt when the baby was pulled out. Then at the end, when I looked around the theater, I saw a lot of blood on the floor. I was like, is this my blood?
A lot of people say, oh, I want to give birth like a Hebrew woman. Like now, personally, I know 2 people who have lost their lives to this whole Hebrew woman theory. See, I see childbirth as you are on that line between
life and death. Like
it's just a thin thread, and you want to play with it. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of More Than Headlines. I'm your host, Kate, and today's episode will be discussing pregnancy and the postpartum journey. My guest today is someone who has already been on the podcast and she's returning. The last time she was here, she was actually single. Now she's married, she's had a baby, and she's here to share her experiences with us. Welcome back to the show, Rosemary.
Thank you for having me again, and it's I'm really happy to be here
to share your experiences.
To share my experience.
And we can't wait to tap from your wealth of experiences.
Well, who am I?
No, because come on now, the things that you have, your experience kind of like shapes, the things shapes you basically. So you're going to be sharing whatever you're going to be sharing with us are things that we don't know about and things that we can learn from,
But it's not a wealth of experience because when did I get married? Just yesterday.
Whatever you've experienced, my dear.
It's okay.
It's deep. It's experience enough for others to learn from.
Okay.
So anyway, by the way, you're actually glowing.
Really?
Don't you think so? There's this mommy glow about you right now.
Oh, because I didn't expect that because I've not been able to sleep straight through the night since I had my baby. So I'm always waking up to feed her. So when you talked about the glow, I'm really surprised. But if I have a glow, well, thank you. I take the compliment. Thank you.
Maybe the glow is coming from just the happiness of being a mom. Finally being a mom.
Maybe
it doesn't necessarily have to be from something you consciously did.
Okay.
So our first question would be, so how did you feel when you first found out you were pregnant?
Well, I'll say I expected it. It wasn't a surprise.
Okay.
Yes, because we did the so you would expect,
Yeah.
So when I didn't see my period, when my period delayed, even before I did the test, I knew I was pregnant.
Wow. You felt different, I'm sure.
And so eventually when I did the test and it was positive, I was like, okay, so it's positive now. So it wasn't a surprise. I was happy. My husband was happy. Because we got married that same month. That was December.
Okay.
And I was already pregnant that same month.
Wow.
So
I'm sure it's something you were happy about because that's not the same. Like it's not the same for everyone.
True, it's not. So it was later I found out that these days it's not so common to get married and get pregnant almost immediately,
Immediately.
because a lot of people are struggling with infertility issues. In fact, I was going through a comment section on a post, and it's like they're taking a poll on of how, when did you conceive, how long did it take you to conceive from when you started trying to eventually when you conceived. So most of the people were like 6 months, 1 year,
Wow.
3 years, 4 years, 5 years. You hardly see someone that said, I intended to have a child. The same month I started trying is the same month I took in. It's kind of rare, but it used to be very normal before now. I mean,
I
as a
didn't know
as
it
a
was
kid,
rare.
it used to be very normal. Not
Yeah.
like it's rare, but it's something to be very thankful for. That's what I can say.
Okay. So my next question is okay. So apparently, like it was something you were preparing for. Like back to what you said, you were already ready for the
Yes.
pregnancy. So when you saw your positive test, you were not shocked at all. It
No.
was just like a confirmation for you that okay, finally it has happened.
Exactly.
Okay, so what was the most surprising part of pregnancy for you? You know, a lot of people, have all these expectations. Like, oh, when
Yes.
I get pregnant, this will happen. So, what was the most surprising thing
Okay.
for you?
So my pregnancy was cool. My first trimester was cool. What really surprised me was when I went to work, and I thought I was doing very okay. Like, I was 7 months pregnant at the time. I was living alone in
Okay.
Lagos. So I'm the one going to the market, doing my groceries. If I need a mechanic, I need to call the mechanic to come check the car. Like, I was doing everything for myself, and I didn't know that I was getting overwhelmed, and I didn't know that it was telling on my mental health. So that day I got to work, and for no reason I started crying. So
Like, you were shocked. Like, were you shocked that you were crying?
yes, I
Or you
was
were just
shocked.
crying and you were like,
I
oh, I'm
was shocked I
crying?
was crying, because if I knew that I was going to cry, I would have gone somewhere to hide. Maybe I would have gone to the toilet to hide and cry so that nobody will see me, because I don't like I don't like that show. I don't like being dramatic. It's not something I do. So I was just sitting at my desk, and suddenly tears just started flowing. I started crying. I kept my head down. I was crying. So it's my HR that was sitting opposite me that came to me. I was like, "Are you okay? What's wrong?" She now took me out. I went to her car. She put on her AC for me. I just told me to relax. I should just stay there as long as. She asked me what was wrong. I said, I don't know. I just feel tired. I don't know. I
Wow.
just feel tired. So I stayed in her car for a while. Then after I went back to work, then she now told me that I can come stay in her place for the week, just to help me relax and all. So for me, that was very surprising. It wasn't something that I thought would happen to me.
So, apart from that, did your emotional state change at all? Or it was just like that day and you were able to, have a grasp? Like, you were able to rein in your emotions. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. I was able to control my emotions for the most. So
Part.
yeah, so that's why I said I was surprised that day, because I was doing okay.
Okay, so what steps or things did you do to prepare you for motherhood?
Okay, so there are a whole lot of things to do. Firstly, I would every pregnant woman wants to have a smooth journey from throughout the whole pregnancy to delivery. So you want to invest and ensure that at the end of the day your baby is safe and you are safe. So first of all is to enroll in the antenatal. But what I realized was antenatal in private hospitals, they don't tell you anything. You just go to the hospital during my clinic day. I go to the hospital when it's my turn. The doctor just checks my tummy, sometimes measures it, check to feel the heartbeat of the baby and everything, and ask you any problem, any questions, any complaint. And most times, since I had a very low risk pregnancy, I didn't have any issues and I'm fine. But there was a whole lot I was supposed to learn and I didn't learn, and I just felt there's some information I'm supposed to know, but I wasn't getting it. So I enrolled on an online antenatal class, and from there I learned a whole lot. The importance of taking the pregnancy vitamins, the antenatal vitamins, the vitamin C, the folic acid, and the blood tablets, even vitamin D, zinc. All those things are very necessary for the growth of the baby and to ensure that your pregnancy is safe all through. Then also there's also the place of exercise. The fact that I'm supposed to be walking at least 20 minutes every day. Then as the pregnancy progresses, at least 1 hour, and I should incorporate other exercises so that at least my labor can be easy. Honest, I don't know, but hopefully that the labor can be easy, although labor is very unpredictable, right?
Yeah.
So I did all of that. I even did something to reduce my baby's weight. I was taking green tea so that the baby doesn't get fat. I'm coming to that part and all of that. So I did all of those things. My diet
Yeah.
too, very important, so that I'm not big and the baby is not big. So I try to control what I eat. So all those things were preparatory towards a safe delivery for me. Those were the things I did.
Okay, so you mentioned taking green tea, and you said you were going to come back to that. So I asked, did all these things work?
So
Like the green tea, the
yeah,
all
when
those extra stuff
yeah.
you did to keep the baby's
Yes,
weight down.
I think the babies, all through the pregnancy, I didn't add so much, and I
Okay.
don't know whether the greens really worked, but I think what really worked was my diet. I didn't eat more than I wasn't eating.
Yeah.
Some people, they'll think, oh, because you're pregnant,
Yeah.
you go somewhere, they'll be giving you food. They say, pregnant woman, you collect like 3 people's food and be eating. So I didn't eat much. I just ate as much as was needed for me. And I had my baby at 40 weeks and she weighed 3.2 kg. That was a very okay weight for when she was born. So
Okay, so what were your expectations about childbirth compared to the reality of labor? And
that was the part that really shocked me. Like, because I just talked about all these things. I was preparing with the mind that I had this mindset that I was going to have vaginal delivery, and all these things were preparatory towards like a safe and easy vaginal birth. But as I progressed and was getting to my due dates, there were no signs of labor. I was exercising. I was doing like 1 hour morning walk every day. I was doing squats, like 100 squats, doing staircase, going up and down the staircase, and doing all of that with the hope that it will help to induce labor for me naturally.
Yeah.
But that didn't happen. And in fact, when I went to the hospital, the day I eventually went to the hospital on my due date, I was still thinking I was going to have the vaginal delivery because I was going to be induced first.
Okay.
So I was induced, the induction did not work. It failed. So I had to opt for the C-section delivery. So I did the C-section and it was successful and all. But the healing process after the C-section, it's I think that's the only part with it. But then also during the surgery, I felt like what was going on.
Okay.
I felt that, I was awake. They numb you from a certain part of the body down. And when my baby was coming out, I felt when the baby was pulled out.
Wow.
I remember screaming, Jesus.
Was it painful?
Yeah. Like,
Oh, you felt the pain?
yeah, I felt the pain, but it wasn't as painful as it should be. But I felt some pain. I felt some pain. I just shouted, Jesus, like, and that was just it. But for the most part of it, it was okay. I didn't really feel anything. You just feel they are working on you, but you're not feeling pain.
Yeah.
Then at the end, when I looked around the theater, I saw a lot of blood on the floor. I was like, is this my blood?
Were you scared?
I wasn't scared. I was like, because I couldn't place the activity that happened, that and the blood and the amount of blood I saw, it wasn't adding up, because I felt they weren't doing so much on me.
Okay.
Then, and I'm looking around, I'm seeing all this blood. I looked at the surgeon, look at blood all over his what do they call that? Surgical whatever. There was blood on it and everything. So after it, I started shivering. There's this shiver that comes with it. I was asking the doctor, why am I shivering? It's like, said it's part of the surgery. It's one of those things. But thank God for everything.
One question that I have at the back of my mind to ask is, a lot of people say, oh, I want to give birth like a Hebrew woman. Hebrew woman. And in fact, up until lately, there's this gist, or there's this news that was on social media of a lady that wanted to have a C-section. So she got to the hospital. She was supposed to have the normal, vaginal birth, and she couldn't. And the doctors needed her husband to sign. I think in the process, they lost the baby. They lost the woman.
And she was fighting for her life. They lost the baby.
They lost. And I know of someone who died in that process as well, because they wanted her mom to sign. Her mom was the only person around. I think her husband wasn't around. And they needed her mom to sign, and the mom said no, that their prophet said that she must give birth as an Hebrew woman. In fact, she's not even I'm even saying someone. I know, like now personally, I know 2 people who have lost their lives to this whole Hebrew woman theory. So when you were planning to have your child, was like CS or was C-section off the table for you, or it was something that you said, oh well, if it comes to CS, fine, or you just had to decide to do CS because at this point you couldn't help it?
Okay, before I get to the question, let me just address that consent form thing with the hospital.
Yeah.
A pregnant woman is an adult. Most pregnant women are adults.
Yeah.
Just exceptional cases that you find people that are below 18 that are pregnant. So if you're 18 and above, why do you need your mother or your father to consent for you to have a surgery? Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make any sense. So I blame the hospital, because as an adult 18 years over, you chose to marry your husband.
Yeah.
Why can't you decide whether you're going to have a procedure or not? Why do you need somebody to decide that for you? So the hospitals, is only the woman that is supposed to sign the form. So I don't understand why his husband, or when I did the form, my husband was there, the form was brought to me to sign, as it should.
Yeah.
Doesn't even make any sense.
In your case, the form wasn't given to your husband?
No.
Okay.
You give the form to the woman to sign. The procedure is going to be taken on her body. Yeah. It's her body. It's her child. Yeah, she has to consent to it. So I don't understand. And this whole Hebrew women rubbish doesn't even make sense. Because, okay, when you're pregnant and you're going for antenatal, every medical doctor is going to tell you, as a pregnant woman, I know most of us want vaginal delivery. It's just some people that opt for elective CS. But every medical doctor will tell you, keep your options open, because during delivery, anything can happen. Anything can happen at any time. Sometimes labor starts naturally and something somehow goes wrong and they need to do emergency CS, And like in my own case, for some reason, labor did not start. I was induced, it didn't come, and I had to have a CS. So you have to keep your options open. The primary thing is that at the end of the day, you are fine, you're healthy, your baby is safe, and you're fine. That's the most important thing. So I don't know who sold this whole idea of Hebrew women to us. I don't know.
Hebrew women.
I don't know.
And I'm not even a Hebrew woman.
Like, I don't
No, like I'm not saying before the Christians will come at me. I'm not saying I'm not a Hebrew woman biblically, but I'm from Nigeria. I'm a Nigerian woman. Treat me like one.
I don't get it. And I blame pastors who sold that Hebrew women thing to women. There are women that give birth very easily.
Of course.
There are some of them don't even feel pain. They don't feel labor pain. But they are like the 1%. They're like the 1%. So if as a Christian your faith has not reached that level.
I don't even. Is it about faith?
Yes, most times about faith.
Rosemary, like I believe that there are women that are not Christians.
Yes,
have that.
yeah, there are women that
So
are not
it's not
Christians.
even about faith.
Yes, there are women that are not Christians.
It might just be
happens
something
to.
that comes to you
But
naturally.
for some Christian women, in fact, there's actually a book called Supernatural Childbirth.
Okay.
I read it during my pregnancy. It's about a Christian woman telling her story from her inability to conceive through to her having like 5 children and having them. The first one, she felt labor pain, but the rest she didn't have, and it was through confessing the word of God and building her faith. She was able to have the children without labor pains. So she called it supernatural childbirth, and a lot of women have read the book, keyed into it, and
And has it worked for them?
it worked. Yes, it worked.
But you read the book now. You keyed into it.
My faith did not carry.
Are you sure? My faith did not carry. Your faith did not carry. No, because if it's anyway, to each their own, whatever they believe,
Yeah.
like you believe that your faith did not carry, fine.
Some women do not know the severity of this whole childbirth thing.
Childbirth. See, I see childbirth as you are on that line between
Life and death. Like,
it's just a thin thread, and you want to play with it.
It's one moment every woman that has gone through that route, that has gone through that process, it's one moment that you're so close to dying.
Yes.
You're so close to dying. Like, so you shouldn't trivialize it. And you shouldn't be going against medical advice. It doesn't make sense. Like,
because even as pastors or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
yes, when you begin to say, when they are praying for pregnant women and they say you shall give birth through the Hebrew, and when the woman now gets to the hospital and the hospital says, "Madam, you have to do CS," they will now start saying, "I rebuke
casting
you,"
and binding.
and yes, I rebuke you. I shall have it. And at the end of the day, sometimes they lose. Even like prolonging yourself from like
Even prolonged
the
labor.
time. Yes, when you prolong the time that you're supposed to have the child, it could be detrimental to the child's health.
Very, very. Some children that you see they have autism or they have Down syndrome. Sometimes it's brain damage from prolonged
labor.
delivery. So when in any hospital, when the delivery is when the labor is prolonged, like unnecessarily,
Yeah.
you see the doctor, most times the child is in distress, and they'll recommend C-section to get the baby out as fast as possible so it doesn't lead to brain damage. But some women, they are stubborn.
So after coming out of the theater, like how many minutes or hours did it take you to come back to yourself, like after seeing the blood, like the whole experience? Like, because I'm sure at that point there must have been a little fear. Of course, we're human. How long did it take you to come back to the reality that I've been there, I've done that, I'm safe, my baby is here?
I think the fear was before the process itself.
Okay.
Yes, the fear was before I've never had any surgical procedure
Anything done on you?
on me, but what even helped to reduce the fear a bit was I did induction. So the induction process, I had to go to the induction that was done to me. I had to go to the theater for them to do the whole procedure. So when I saw the theater, I was kind of like calm. When I first got to the hospital that morning, I was tensed. When the nurse was trying to check my vitals, she was like, she checked my blood pressure, she checked my heartbeat. She was like, "You're not calm. You're very tense." I said, "Yes, I'm scared. I don't know what's going to happen today."
As you should be, because it's your first time.
So when I went to the theater for the first induction procedure, we had to do the induction twice because the first one kind of flopped or something. I had to do it again. So by the time I went to the theater twice that day, whatever fear I had I started calming down.
Was the induction painful?
It wasn't painful, it was uncomfortable.
Okay.
Yes. So I started calming down. So when it got to the point I was going to decide to do a CS, it was kind of easy. I was still afraid, but it was easy for me to make that decision because the doctor at some point called me and said, "Look, we've been trying to induce you since morning. This is afternoon. We are not getting any progress. We have to make a decision." So I had to, decide immediately.
You had to decide what was best for you.
So I went there. So the fear was before the procedure.
So this was, of course, like I'd like to ask this. So where was your husband in all of this? Like,
maybe you do another podcast for him to tell his side of the story.
He will not come. I won't bother asking.
He was so afraid. I was to my husband afraid. I didn't even know. So he told me, okay, between when we did the induction and when I went in for surgery, he started calling people. He started calling his. So when he told me he called so person, I thought he was joking because sometimes he could joke like that. I think he was joking. He said he called this person. I said, "Why are you calling all these people?" Because my plan was, I just want to quietly come have my baby. When I'm done, we can now call whoever. People. And it was very out of his character for him to act like that. That's when it dawned on me that he was really afraid.
Yeah.
So when I came out of surgery, he was like, he was really, really afraid.
Wow.
Because by the time I came out, his friend was there, some of his family people, they were there. So he really needed those people by him.
Yeah.
And during surgery, so he came. He just peeped. He just told him to come and say hello at the theater. He said by the time he came, he saw lots of blood. He went out and was crying. He couldn't believe it.
couldn't believe that he put somebody's child through all this wahala. Like I can imagine, like,
God. So I believe that's his own story for him to tell.
Yeah.
But I know he was really, really afraid. He was. I could see the fear in his eyes.
And I'm sure the relief when you now came out.
Yes.
Like,
No, so the baby came out 5 minutes into the surgery, the baby is out.
Okay.
I think most of the surgery is stitching. They cut like 5-6 layers.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they have to
I don't know.
Yeah, I think they cut like 5-6. They have to stitch each of those. So that was what really takes time. So mostly 5-7 minutes into the surgery, the baby is out.
Okay.
And they called him, he saw the baby, but his mind wasn't settled until,
he saw that you were fine.
Yes, he saw that I was fine.
Hey, God, I don't know. Anytime I hear like childbirth stories, my stomach will start paining me. Why is my stomach paining me?
Well, I think CS is easier than vaginal birth.
Yeah, I actually have, different people, different strokes for different people. I've actually seen like an older woman who always says that her advice is that young people should just do elective CS and get it over with. Like, why do you want to stress yourself? Just go in there, bring out the baby and go your way. But
some people used to have it easy for the vaginal delivery, and those people will never ever want CS.
Yeah.
So I also know people that have it very tough. Like they've done the two, and they always pick CS every time because they find the other option very, very hard for them.
Like the idea, not like the idea, the stress of the whole push and all that stuff.
Yes, some people have very long, prolonged labor, and And apart from that, there's also when your baby is big, you can be given episiotomy.
Yeah.
If they don't give you episiotomy, you can tear. And God knows you can have 3 degree tear or tear in the, like it's crazy. You have to be sewn up with the whole healing process. That one too, the healing too is different. So it's not always so easy. For me, vaginal delivery will be easy if the labor is for a short period, like maybe 5-6 hours max. And so I was going to say that for me, I'll choose vaginal delivery where the labor is not prolonged, it's
Okay.
short, and there's no tear.
Yeah.
I'll pick that over CS.
Anytime.
Yeah.
So was there any time that you felt the need to talk to someone or reach out to someone for help, or ask somebody a few things?
I had Google. I Googled a lot.
My friend always say that like Google is not your friend in fact, I don't believe, to be honest, I don't believe in Googling when it comes to health issues. Because I've had times where I have searched Google for things health related, and Google is telling me you will die the next minute. You will die the next minute. So like, I'd rather not Google, but then again I understand curiosity.
For mental health, I would say I didn't really have issues with mental health because I believe I had enough support system.
There are a lot of people around you.
Not like there are a lot of people around me because I lived mostly alone during the pregnancy. But then I kept in contact with the people that mattered, and also my job, my office, they also made things easy for me. So I didn't really have any mental health issues or emotional breakdown and all those stuff. Yeah.
So how has feeding, no, not feeding, how has bonding with the baby, sleep deprivation,
Jeez.
breastfeeding, how has that whole experience been?
When the doctor said I should when labor wasn't coming and the doctor said I have to come to the hospital, and he said before I come I should sleep very well because after that no sleep for me. I didn't really understand until I had a baby. So that night, the night of night that our baby came, the night we had our baby, God. So after the surgery, I was in a room, I think the recovery room. My husband was in another ward in our with the baby. Later in the night, I was moved to join them where they were. So I was lying on a bed. I couldn't move. I could just lie on my back. Then he was lying on the other bed with the baby. For some reason, the baby was placed on oxygen. So, and because I couldn't breastfeed, I couldn't do anything. I just came out of surgery. So they had to drip the baby. I think there's the kind of feeding they give them through drip or something. But that whole oxygen they placed her on, it was very uncomfortable for her. So all through the night, the baby was crying and struggling and removing the thing, and my husband was putting it back. So every 5 minutes, the baby has removed it. My husband couldn't sleep. The baby couldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep. It was one of the most stressful nights of my life. Baby was crying all through. At some point, my husband was sleep off. Baby is crying. Baby has removed the oxygen from her nose and she needs to be placed on that thing. I'm calling my husband. I'll call him. It took me like 5 minutes. I couldn't move. I'll say, baby, before you will have check up and put it. Oh God. At some point I was like, can we just take these marks off this baby? So it was really stressful. Then after that night, I didn't even know that you have to be feeding the baby every 3 hours.
Okay.
So we're feeding the baby every 3 hours. That The first 1 week she was really really sleeping. 1 or 2 she was really sleeping. Once she's fed, she will sleep. But in the night I also have to wake up like 3 times in the night to feed her. Even till now, wake up like 3 times in the night. So I've not been able to sleep straight throughout the night,
Wow.
and I'm not really great at sleeping during the daytime. So all that thing they used to say, sleep when the baby sleeps, doesn't really work in real life. So that's how it has been. But we thank God.
So as your view of motherhood changed since the baby came? Like all the things you used to think about motherhood before you now became a mother, has any of that changed?
The funny
Or
thing is, we always think, single people always think about the fancy side of motherhood. Nobody really tells us the nitty gritty, this part of
yeah,
sleepless nights and, feeding baby and all of that. Nobody, we used to look at the glossy parts where the
yeah,
baby, your child will make you proud, your child will be intelligent, your child will be beautiful, but you don't know that there's so much work
yeah.
you have to put into that. So I just feel the reality just dawned on me, to be honest, and it's a lifelong journey, and
Of
there's no
course.
escaping from it. I mean, we're here for it.
So, final question. Looking back, what's your advice on women that are looking at getting pregnant and going through labor and postpartum
So I'll say
in
what
general?
most people don't say. If you're single and you're yet to be pregnant, first of all, know that you'll be taking medications every day till delivery and even after delivery. So if you don't like taking medication, sorry, you need to adjust. Then every time you go for your antenatal, your blood sample is taken. So needles, if you're afraid of needles, you need to adjust. So those are like some of the information I believe people should know. And the fact that you need to be healthy, you need to even have a healthy weight, you need to be before even getting pregnant. So
Yeah.
I just feel women should be prepared for it. Read more about it. Just be mentally ready,
Yeah.
basically,
Research.
for it. Yeah, research for it and be friends to moms, like people that are having the baby, people that are currently having babies, so
Yeah.
that you see how sometimes offer to babysit for your friend, so that or your family or a member of your family or your sister or sibling or something.
Is that an indirect shade?
Please come and babysit for me.
Please, oh, I'm not babysitting. Okay, Rosemary, thank you so much for sharing, bits of your early motherhood journey with us, because at least it's just 1 month, right? And I'm sure you still have a long way to go. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It was good having you again. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this episode with your friends and family. And we'll see you in our next episode. Bye.